Okay,
Oh, I was gonna say, who's that? It's Counselor Armstrong.
I think we need
Yeah, you need,
a quorum.
well, you have Jeff. You just need actually Jeff and the mayor.
No, because it's
Patrick
governance.
is the mayor.
Yeah, you're the, on governance, aren't you?
No,
Oh,
No.
Patrick.
I can pretend, but
You have the mayor.
we don't have Patrick or Peter right now.
We have quorum enough to get your meeting working.
Right,
Yeah, 'cause it's you and her.
yeah,
Counselor Armstrong.
okay.
Get my email today? Yes, I didn't manage to hear your voicemail. It didn't come across.
That's right, I was just saying, we'll call it.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting of Governance Strategy and City Operations Committee. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong.
Here.
Counselor McFarland. Mayor Reed.
Here.
Counselor Kelly.
Here?
Counselor Gibbs. Counselor Moore.
here,
Counselor Ansel. Say her name.
Well, we don't have a very robust agenda tonight. Really have nothing to talk about under council reports, but I guess I will entertain a motion to bring agenda items forward.
So moved, I guess you're kind of running out of people. to
Okay,
move stuff.
second. All right, so we get a move in second.
Counselor Armstrong.
Yes.
Mayor Reed.
Yes,
Right, and, so, this is my last committee meeting of my career. Should be
Oh my,
waxing nostalgic here.
it's an epic meeting.
It's a meeting with nothing to do, so
historical.
that's really
Yeah.
what it is. So, in terms of old business, I guess I could ask the question, since we have discussed Open Gov during this committee meeting before. At some point, maybe we could get information about when that demonstration, when and if a demonstration's coming from Open Gov.
December 19th, our last meeting,
Okay, great.
and making great progress.
Good. I mean, I've been invited to the meetings, you know, that, where we're working with OpenGov to download everything or upload or whatever you call it, and that's been going, you've been able to attend some of those too? I think you hung out in one, I hung out in one.
Pretty interesting, though.
Yeah, it's a whole new world for me, so.
You'll be interested to know, and I've been going to those meetings. From now on, often a lot of the questions you ask is, well, where are we on the budget and compared to last year? It's gonna be up to date within 24 hours, and you can look at it at any time, including during a council meeting. Drill down, well, how's the overtime in fire or police? Another question we frequently ask. You can drill down and find that immediately up to date numbers. So a lot of the questions that we routinely ask for reports for are now going to be available to us whenever we want, and completely up to date numbers too. So that's going to be a real relief.
I love
They're
that.
going to do a demonstration of all those on December 19th for us.
Oh, okay.
That was what had drawn us to this kind of software from the beginning. And so it's exciting to see it come to fruition. I appreciate all the efforts in bringing that to pass. I'll just mention here, I'll probably mention it again, that the Sustainability Task Force is gonna meet next Wednesday, and it's open to the public. And we have a set of agenda items that we'll be working on, but I won't go into that now. As for new business, we'll be working on bringing the fee increases for the Opius Gym forward in next week's agenda, I believe, so that'll be coming. So you can look forward to getting that list and reviewing what the increases are, and it's been circulated, so it'll be old information for you. Okay, and I think that's about it. You remind me though.
How about if you know, we've had this new committee structure for about 2 years now, and you're
Right.
the first, maybe the first chair, maybe not the first chair, but a chair that's now leaving an important committee. Can you
Right.
kind of reflect on
Oh, okay.
how it's working for you
I think it's
from your
working well.
perspective?
Yeah, I think it's working well. I know there has been some concern about this being a rather unwieldy committee, but honestly, that hasn't been my experience. You know, I mean, CD is a big department, that's true. But I think in terms of communication with CD and recreation, I mean, I think this last few months has been challenging insofar as the review of recreation budget. But that wasn't anything over the top that couldn't be handled, and so I'm not going to weigh in on behalf of breaking up that committee. I think it's, with the four committees, we can manage to distribute the workload well enough, I believe, but that's just my humble opinion, but I'll just give you the benefit of my feedback, so.
Is there anything that your committee treats that you think belongs to another committee in your experience, or something another committee does that you believe could be better done in your committee's advice?
Well, I haven't really had time to consider that broader question, but, I mean, it hasn't occurred to me along the way, as the business comes forward, that there's something that I should be that I should take care of or think fits better within government operation and strategy. Talking about committee organization and,
Oh, nice.
and how government operations and strategy works. And I just said that I feel like it's just fine and it's a manageable workload. Do you have a difference of opinion?
Yes, and it's only that, I think that, as far as committees go, we should take the environmental stuff out of government and have that be a separate committee, because as the climate smart and stuff
Right.
gets bigger, I know you've been taking a huge workload with that, and then
Yeah,
I know it's
but
your passion.
I mean,
so-
I think it got wrapped in there just simply because I spouted off about it during the committee, so it definitely doesn't have to be part of committee business.
Yeah.
I
It's
agree
not
with you
officially
there.
part of government, it just
No.
happened to be that Councilor Armstrong was interested in
I
that.
think we could make it its own committee, because I agree with Elizabeth,
It
I
is.
don't think,
Oh, I see a
But the
standing
thing is, we
committee.
have representation on the task force, and that really should be sufficient, so that that task force member and whoever becomes a coordinator can report to the council, as a kind of separate entity.
okay.
Yeah, that will work. So, I mean, I think, I understand now where you're coming from, but,
Yeah, that's just one thing I've seen take a larger role, and I think it's a more
Right.
important role as we become 100% renewable energy. We've gotten electric vehicle chargers. We've become a climate smart community, and we're working with. And there's a lot more coming out of the woodwork that I can't even keep track of them all. I know you
Right.
can.
but that's
But-
not, that officially and formally, that's not a part of governance, operations, strategy, it's the task force. And I simply reported out on it just because there didn't seem to be any other mechanism to do it. I just didn't know that there was that association with the committee, so I think
Fair enough.
we can just clarify that.
Councilor Armstrong did volunteer after she retires that to the capacity she can, given your travel and everything, she'll still be involved with that task force, but we do really still need a counselor to champion some of the energy and sustainability stuff. So if anybody has an interest in, she thought I was just puffing her up a moment ago, and I said to follow in her footsteps, but that committee has been making a lot of momentum, and I don't wanna see that momentum decline. So if somebody's got a real passion for that, let me know, because it's really
Have-
important committee, or really important task force.
Have you engaged with our incoming counselors to see
Yeah.
if
We're
either of
talking,
them have the interest in
Yeah.
taking that on, or?
Yeah, I'll just need to, I brought it up in a very cursory manner, and I'll follow up with conversations.
I just, the library is, as the charter says, is not, I forget the exact wording, I don't have the charter in front of me, but,
That's got its
it's
own
not-
board.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of runs itself, and I just, the spirit behind my suggestion to everybody in the council is, there doesn't seem to be an equitable distribution of the work if,
That's true.
the
Well, we don't
library
have
does.
library committee meetings
We don't
here.
really need to
But-
have a council, I don't think we need
Well,
a council.
Here's the point I would make. Just having been, originally I was the library liaison before it was a committee. And at that point, it's kind of a funny history lesson. In their, what do you call it, contract, the liaison from the city presided over their grievance hearings as a facilitator, not as
And they
any.
used to have quite a bit of those.
Yeah, they did. But in the new contract, that role was eliminated. But I feel like it's valuable. We have a $700 and what thousand dollar
It's about $752,000.
budget for that fund, and I think
It's
it
a $1 million budget, it's a
Well,
$745,000.
contribution. That's what I mean.
The general fund,
That's what I meant. Thank you.
but it's a $1 million budget.
Yeah. And I think it's in the council's interest, because we make that lofty of a contribution, to know what's going on. If not attend meetings, I know Peter had a conflict, you know, he's on the board of Mountain Lake PBS. So he could never go, but I mean, there's communication that's going on all the time. He gets, and I got all of the budget packets, all of the meeting packets, and so forth. And so, you know, maybe it doesn't deserve a full-blown committee, but I think it's really wise to have a representative there who knows what's going on with the library, just because of our financial interest in it and our interest in education.
Yeah, it's
Period.
civic interest in it.
But, I mean, and there have been discussions along the way about the question of the kind of classification and designation of the library. There are all kinds of libraries. We're you know, as a city library, we serve a bigger population. And along the way, there has been discussion among board members, among the director, about, well, what if we go to a library district? That's a completely different configuration, but in effect, what it does is the budget is then, help me, Rich,
That would
then
be a special
is
tax
voted
district.
upon and, I can't remember the actual mechanics.
It's gonna become more of a county organization than a city organization.
Right,
Because,
In simple terms,
right.
yeah.
so that.
So the financial responsibility for the library is distributed, this
amongst
is a
the whole
theme,
county.
amongst more stakeholders.
Or whatever the special
State of New York
district
is
would
not allowing
outline.
them to be created anymore.
Right. Pardon?
The state of New York's not allowing them to be created anymore.
Oh, they're not?
Right, we just found that out
Oh,
a
so
couple
I
of weeks
missed
ago.
that.
That was actually
Okay.
old news, because when I was on the library board of trustees, we had discussed that. And basically to do that, because the town of Plattsburgh doesn't have a town library, Beekman Town doesn't have a town
Right.
library. They all get access to our library, where we're kind of a community library.
Exactly.
And our library gets a little extra funding for that. But there were discussions, we had a consultant come in that talked about creating a special assessment district that was wider than just the city of Plattsburgh,
Right.
to serve those needs. The problem is that requires setting up a special tax district, and even then, Governor Cuomo's taken a hard line, and he's vetoed every special assessment district or special taxing district that's been initiated. So when it came in front of the library board, we could have done it that way and send it to the voters and not have it be a budget item on the cities,
Right.
but it was gonna be a lot of work, and
Yep.
the library board decided that it didn't make much sense unless it would expand the
The base.
the base.
Mhm.
And since that would require setting up a special district, and that's a no-go in the governor's office, it didn't
Okay.
make much sense to go
Well,
through.
I guess I exited that conversation, and thank you for that.
But that was
So the-
That
2 years
was
ago.
The intent.
The plan, yeah.
But just recently, the governor has said no
Okay.
to library special assessment.
Well, I've been out of the loop for a while. But, so then, in my mind, all the more reason to have at least a liaison who's in touch with the library, who is part of the oversight of their budget and so forth.
It
Because
kind
I
of,
it's
think
a
that would
big
be
chunk of
so
money
much
to
more
be
sense.
responsible for.
it kind of goes backwards then, because I think the appropriate committee, it sounds, just by naming, that's part of government strategies and cities' operations,
Sure,
maybe.
yeah, I don't mind
You know?
that. I don't think it's a huge job.
No, it's not,
Uh-uh.
because they are pretty much self-sufficient in
Yeah,
the way they
they
manage
are.
their stuff.
So
The
you
library
just
board is
hang
very
out with them.
dedicated.
You remain in communication, hang out with them, and then because honestly, Rich could tell you, there have been times when people say, well, we need to severely reduce our contribution to the library, right?
And it can't be done.
Well, it can't be done,
Because you
right?
compromise state funding if you reduce it by more than 5%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was as high as $811,000, so it's been reduced to 745.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you can reduce it and then you'll compromise the state funding
Right,
as a community library.
right.
But does the city need to be the definition of the community? Could a county be the community?
Right. If a special assessment district can be set up for the whole county funded library. Once again, the governor has vetoed all those.
And I don't think it would be countywide, because there are towns that, like Peru
That's
has a
true,
town
yeah.
library,
That's
and stuff like that, so, yeah. Because this was a big discussion, I
Yeah.
remember, about 2 years
And
ago.
just looked into it recently and found out
Right.
that the discussion that we were intending to have, she couldn't proceed with.
Yeah.
Because there's no state allowance for it to be done.
Well, from what I'm hearing, I gotta agree with you, Rochelle, it's something we need to keep track of. I see there's things that are happening that maybe aren't coming back here in a timely fashion where we can keep up to date with.
Right.
And one of the reasons they
What's
don't
happening?
is because we've got a very competent department head running the library. But you mentioned eras in the past where the city council was much more involved in overseeing grievances and all this kind of stuff. So knock on wood, but it's probably good to continue that touchstone and just hope it's continued to be as well run as it has been.
I have no reason to expect that it won't under her leadership.
While we're on the theme of intersections of city interests and broader interests, I know you and I have had conversations about working to assist in the funding of a study for recreation, and I see one of our county legislators is here tonight too, so I know you're deliberating on that. We've been hearing representations from the YMCA director, Justin Ine, on that, and my sense is there's certainly a willingness on this part to do our fair share in contributing to that exercise, so you can elaborate more, because it's in your committee anyway, but
Yes.
I just, since for the benefit of the legislature.
Yeah, I think we're working on the nature of that contribution and whatever contractual language would be needed to hammer out regarding it. And it's in process, and I anticipate that over the next week, we should have a recommendation for you. Okay? Okay.
Any other
Yes, sir.
items that you want to talk about today?
No, I can't, I don't have a brain, so if you can think of anything, go right ahead. Patrick, do you have anything on your mind?
Not really.
Okay.
I probably did a day ago, but I can't think of anything right now.
Right, I had a list, but I think we covered everything. So, any
Oh,
other?
yes, I sent out something this morning. I had a proposal from a constituent
Right.
regarding single-use plastic bags. Before I read it, when I got her email, I thought she was meaning like grocery bags, but she was meaning, and this comes back to a conversation that I know Elizabeth was championing last infrastructure meeting, regarding single-use plastic bags, but garbage bags, like the big ones. And maybe it would require changing city policy of only using clear bags, because recyclable garbage bags are colored.
Are they?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least that's what she said. I'm no
Yeah.
expert on it. And, I know we had discussed like the paper bags for leaf and grass clippings and lawn clippings and other stuff like that. And Mike brought up some problems with that, certainly.
They can't see
break
through it.
down. They can't see through it was the big problem. People
They,
put garbage.
they can't be sure about what their workers are picking up, even so far as some of them being stuck with needles. And they take a very, very long time to break down. So it takes up more space because it takes longer. Really what we should do is move towards compostable, biodegradable plastic bags. That's what we should be doing in the city.
Are there such
Composting
things?
in general, for
Yes.
that matter.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's a topic.
not just not just degradable, like a plastic that breaks down, but also compostable because it's made of a vegetable material.
Right.
So it's
Like
not plastic
cornstarch
at all.
or something.
And you can find them,
Right.
but it's better for the
Well,
environment. And
part
it
of our-
reduces the amount of plastic.
So I think we'll bring that topic to the task force. And she was referencing a climate smart community action that is related to it. And also the fact that Water Elite, I said that right?
Yep.
Takes care of its compostables in that fashion. But just in recalling your interest in composting, there's a real keen interest on the citizens group, the Climate Action Coalition, to bring that topic forward to the Sustainability Task Force. There's a pilot program up in Lake Placid, Keene, and so forth that I can forward to you guys after I bring it up to the task force. And hopefully we can get some movement on that.
And we have zero sort recycling, don't we?
No.
No,
don't?
no, not in the city, outside the city. You can participate in zero sort.
I know in my recycling, I put it all together. Is that not how
Well,
I'm supposed
they're,
to be
they're
doing it?
curbside sorting it, if you're
Oh.
using the city's,
Oh, I do.
oh, yeah, then they're,
You're
they're
a
sorting it
loyal
at the curb.
counselor.
Okay.
It's zero sort for you, but not for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we're talking about composting, we do have the benefit of Mr. Ruff here, and he's thought about this a lot. Do you wanna share some of the ideas of how composting could work or past history?
Well, you just composted the sludge, though. That was what the plan was. You wanna come forward? Come over. You wanna stand? So that everybody can hear you online?
You're being beckoned to the microphone.
My favorite.
Yes.
Okay. Question, what was the question?
Tell us
What-
everything you know about
what-
composting.
Well, careful what you ask. So you're asking about the historical sludge composting or
Just in
ideas?
general, you've got other ideas for composting too. and
Okay,
what
well, I'm
you
looking
think
at, we have sewage sludge, which we call biosolids now, which we need to dispose of.
You call it bio what now?
Biosolids. The
Biosolids.
reason-
That's what I thought you said.
It's called that because it's solids, but it's also mostly organic. So the industry's termed this, made up this term that's called biosolids. So it recognizes the fact that the material is solids, but it's also got a bioavailability.
Right.
So it can be digested and turned into methane and used to turn a turbine, generate electricity, which is what some places do. It can be composted, which degrades the volatile solids and gives you a relatively stable product at the end that can be used to improve soil organic material, and it's used to make topsoil and soil amendments in gardens and all that.
And we used to do that with the compost.
We did that with the compost plant. We also did alkaline treatment, which was to add materials with high alkalinity, like lime kiln dust, wood ash, and quicklime to the sludge. And what it would do was raise the pH really high, so that it was biologically inert. Those materials are really dry, so it actually took that wet sludge and made it something you could handle with shovels and dump trailers and bucket loaders.
To do what with it?
So you could take it and use it to make topsoil, or it was also used by the agriculture community as an ag lime substitute. So instead of buying ag lime, farmers could purchase this material at a lower cost and increase the pH of their soils. And in addition to increasing the pH, it also added some nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen, potassium, not at levels to be called a fertilizer legally, but certainly if you broadcast that material on your lawn, the next year you'd know exactly where you spread it, because it would be a lot greener and lusher than where you hadn't spread it. But we're looking at the organics, the long-term organics market. Right now, 2/3 of our biosolids go to a landfill. Another third goes to an alkaline treatment facility in Chateaugay. Landfills are under a lot of pressure to not receive organics anymore. Right now, they're focused on food waste. That's still low-hanging fruit. There's a big push on that now. But it seems to me, as I look at the state's 5-year plan and some of the other policy decisions they're making, that they're going to move towards getting paper out of landfills. Then the big organic material left is biosolids, which really affects municipalities like us, because a lot of us are sending our biosolids to landfills. So we're trying to take a kind of comprehensive long-term look at organics management. That includes our biosolids. It might include the city's the paper and food portion of the municipal solid waste right now that's going in the trash, whether we can pull that out, combine those materials, and deal with them collectively. What some places are doing is what's called co-digestion. They're taking their sewage biosolids and they're taking food waste and or paper waste, mixing it together, putting it in a digester to allow bacteria to work on it, but reduces the volatile solids content, but it generates methane or synthetic gas that can be cleaned and then used to run a turbine. What that does is it gives you some electricity, but it also gets the mass of all the solids down significantly. So you can then, you could run it through some kind of dryer, you can run it through pyrolysis, you could run it through dewatering. We're looking long term. You've probably heard of the term PFOAs that have been found in drinking water that are causing a lot of people to be scared. Well, municipalities we're checking our sludge for it, and people are picking up trace amounts of PFOAs in sludge, plus other materials called compounds of emerging concern. It's basically stuff that's in the biosolids that we could never test for down at the low levels that you'd need to detect them. Now those analytic techniques exist. We can test down at those levels. So we're starting to look at, all right, what's really in all these solids? And from my perspective, should we continue land applying them in the long run? Should we be making a compost with biosolids? Should we be making an alkaline material with biosolids, knowing that some of these compounds might exist there, and then that material is going to then go get applied on farms or in topsoils? So we're trying to figure out where the long-term landfill landscape is going and what the costs are going to be. We're also looking at the public health impacts, and we're trying to figure out what the future holds and how we should be positioning ourselves strategically with the types of treatment that we have, and what kind of grants and long-term planning we should pursue so that we're doing the right thing, but also have some flexibility as regulations might change or as more information becomes available about how the environment's being affected by these things. So one of the things we're thinking about is just, instead of just calling it sludge management or trash management or paper or whatever, is talking about organics in general. Because when you throw organics in a digester or some kind of pyrolysis or something, organics are organic, and the organisms that act on it don't see that big a difference between one, or well, they do see some difference, but the paper waste and biosolids and food waste are very compatible digestion-wise. Start to throw in some other exotic organic compounds, they might not degrade quite as well. But anyway, I've been kind of rambling on, but
No,
I think
that's great.
yeah, I think your point is we're taking a hard look at where we're at now with our biosolids, but also other organic waste streams that we've got, and regionally. We take a lot of septage and sludges from outside the city, and we treat them here, and then we need to manage those solids that we end up with.
I see that Shingle Street truck going
They're
down.
coming through. It's nice revenue, but we need to not get caught asleep at the switch with regulatory changes and environmental concerns and all that. So we're taking a good hard look at that. So
Perfect,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, yeah. Yeah, would you entertain that?
Okay. Yeah, I would like to make a special circumstance for Simon Comroy to comment at this point. Yeah, we don't have public comments, so, but
Oh, you
you're
don't have
special.
I was just gonna mention on the composting issue, I've often thought that it would be good to get a convenience station inside the city. I don't know if anybody's ever talked about that, where you'd have a large dumpster that was for leaves and trees and all kinds of things, and you'd have, additional places for people to drop off big chunks of metal like TVs and things, and there could maybe be something to work out with, with that.
And then, so dispense with bags altogether, just directly come and empty your,
Yeah, or people could dump their bags in,
Right.
just have and it would always be emptied every week or however long it took. I mean, you'd have to work out some deal, obviously, with the landfill.
well, that was another question that Beokum, your constituent, had brought up, that part of the reason that, in addition to the difficulty of, kind of breaking down the paper bag and so forth, that there's no regular pickup system that the DPW uses because they're fitting it in to their already busy schedule. So there's no telling how long a paper bag might sit there and then get wet, and then
Yeah.
when they pick it up, the whole bottom falls out. and
I
so
remember last
forth.
time I filled leaves in bags on, like, they were there for a while, I mean,
Yeah.
they come grab them.
So I think part of her recommendation was to try to get some kind of commitment for regular pickup, and I'm not sure what that would entail in terms of personnel, but that was a question she raised anyway. But we'll bring that whole matter of, the kind of bags we require. We can require a certain kind of plastic bag or material for these things to be collected in, because it's done in Water Lake. And we'll look into that, and help me, prompt me, I don't have much time left. Okay,
We've also got Justin Nine from the YMCA here. Would you entertain any
Sure.
comments either of you two may have on your rec study that you're
yes, I would appreciate, since we did mention that we were gonna be considering our contribution to the study that you guys are sponsoring, if you could come forward and just inform the council?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I didn't really prepare anything official, but I was
It's just
happy
very
to-
informal, this
You're-
part of the meeting.
Okay, great. And thank you for allowing me a few words. The Y was asked to the table a little over a year ago with a group of pretty diverse committee, task force, which Rachel and the mayor, Rochelle, I'm sorry,
That's all right.
are on. But it involves city, town, hospital, the YMCA. And we were asked through this task force to really take a look at recreation services and indoor space and the lack of that during the winter months and the closing of the pool at the college and all of these services that we're seemingly losing. And, obviously, and then there was conversation about the rec center, and our building is over 100 years old, and where's the Y gonna be in the next, 5 years, 10 years? So we embarked on a feasibility study and working with a company called Grow Development that works with YMCA's all over the country. And Batavia and Lockport, Rochester, these areas, Canandaigua, have been partnering with them to do the same type of feasibility studies and to really look and see if there are models out there that we can do to eliminate duplications of services, be a little bit more effective, a little bit more regional with the programs and services that we offer. So we're very much appreciative that the consideration for contributions towards this feasibility study. There is obviously a price tag with each piece that goes forward. We're looking at just about $75,000, $50,000 to $75,000 for the first stage of this feasibility study. So we've gone to the county for their support. We're working with a couple other foundations that I can't mention right now, but is looking very positive for their contributions, of course, as well as the Y to do this. So happy to answer any questions if there is any. But in a nutshell, that is what we're doing right now. I'm very excited for, what this could bring in the future for our area.
That's good, I think that's a good introduction.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you, Jessica.
Certainly is very consistent with our goal of collaborating regionally on some of these things and not competing also with other nonprofits. So the city's been pretty much on board with those discussions you've been helping to facilitate right from the get-go. So we will
Yes.
continue to be.
Absolutely, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And did Legislator Conroy have anything to add?
I mean, I can give you my perspective on it.
Sure. Come on up.
So, I mean, I would just frame it up that this is an initiative that people have dreamt about for decades, to have the potential of a larger indoor recreation sports center where you could have, whether it be, pools, obviously the big thing is green space, sporting fields, multiple sporting fields. I think it's been a good discussion over the years to, potentially improve the crate, maybe you could fit more fields in there. This study is really about, you know, where should this place be, if a place like this could even be sustained by our area. So I think supporting this is a great idea. It's something that's been building for, I would say, at least a decade. And now the YMCA is kind of taking the leading role, so I think everybody should really get behind them and show all of our support. And in the end, we might have a big new facility that not only works for the city and the whole county, but also can help draw people in, because there's all kinds of demand out there for different sporting competitions and things, and the Crate Center is full all the time. So that would definitely help. Also, the whole, anyway, there's the weightlifting or fitness side, there's the pool side, there's the field side. You could potentially do that all under one roof, and with the Y as the leader in it.
Thank you, Simon.
I don't know if I want specific numbers, but should I go over the numbers?
No,
No,
it's okay,
okay.
not at this point,
All right.
thank you. Is there any further new business? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, okay. There's also a motion and a second for adjournment.
Things to the agenda?
Oh, yeah, wait, 1 second. I don't believe we moved items to the agenda.
Yes, we did,
Oh,
you weren't here.
Jeff told me we didn't need a lag.
Counselor Armstrong, Counselor
Yes.
Yeah.
Mayor Reed.
Yes. So we'll now begin our work session, which I think many of the items we've already covered. For the work session, we can certainly entertain any more further discussion. We can entertain reports, but I'd also ask you if you could entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel issue involving a particular person, and also to discuss the qualifications of a particular corporation for purposes of an appointment, which for that part of the discussion, I'll be recusing myself.
Okay, so moved.
To the bank first, the corporation first.
Pardon me?
We'll do the second one first.
Okay.
Okay. Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Gibbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Passed. So I'll just stay here for a while. Okay. See you soon. I've never been in here when the executive session.
Well, they're not gonna be doing the same thing because you're in there.
What do you guys usually party and have a dance, do a few show tunes?
When the executive session was done, I have just an notification to council about some prep work for the holiday parade. Saturday, scheduled requested at the parking lights along the parade route.
Yeah, I talked with the mayor pro tem and legal, and they're fine with that, so go ahead and do
Do we
it.
need to do like?
I don't think so.
Marking notification?
We can notify, but I'm fine with it, Dean was, so.
Yeah, just, so.
Sure. Thanks. So really, everybody just kind of hangs out in here for, just however long it takes?
Usually when John starts telling jokes, but
Does he?
you order a pizza. Your turn.
Hey, Joe, this morning I was at a Strictly Business, the annual thing, and they had on the slideshow all the previous front pages from Strictly Business. You were on one of them back in like 2003 or something, weren't you?
He has a big printed out version.
Very reluctant.
Does he have a printed out version?
Yeah.
Wouldn't sound like Joe.
The only thing Joe has is a picture of himself.
Computer screens, just a mirror.
The former police chief had a cover too, around that period as well. And then there was another one around that time with the entire council, And then another with a couple of previous mayors, they're in for like 4 or 5 years now, they're really focusing on city operations for some reason.
Yeah, that particular one, I think was their April version, and they, had routinely done, Renaissance construction. So they had always done the construction angle, and this time they wanted the inspectors angle.
Did it have like a fold-out centerfold or anything with you?
No, they did a decent job. They did not.
Not sure how it works. So is there a recommendation on the floor for today?
I think she said
Well,
she's
thanks for
gonna
the
put
lesson
it
today.
forward a resolution next week, but we usually do an initial consideration to let everybody know we're talking about something. And the week later, they actually present it, so I think she plans to present it next week.
So it's not on this agenda today.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not ecstatic about that.
I'm glad I came.
Yeah, my sense is people are supportive of it too, so.
Okay. So yeah, that's not.
Well, unlike the work session.
No, there won't be.
Okay. Great. Thank you, sir.
And you're welcome to come next week. I would imagine it's gonna be pretty routine.
Well, the big question is gonna be, is it gonna be the 5, is it gonna be 15, is it gonna be 20, or is it gonna be
I
nothing?
think it's most likely gonna be the 5, because from what I understand, subsequent to when we originally talked, and I informed you about this, is that our planner had already been discussing with your planner alternate
Yeah.
uses for that 15.
Do you know? Okay.
And I don't know that-
So throughout the week, think about it.
Sure.
So
Next Thursday, 5 o'clock.
Well, it would come up in committee at 4:30,
Yeah.
and then the ultimate vote will be at 5:30.
Between now and then, we gotta try to talk to Rochelle, I guess.
Sure, she'd be sponsoring it, that's right.
And see what she's willing to present.
Right.
Thank you.
You bet.
I'm sure I'll see you again.
Yeah, probably tomorrow at the rate we're going these days.
That's okay, I think.
Thank you.
That's the route I went. It's probably good. Figure out. I know, I got it over my first head. My wife didn't tell me she could. Yes. Active. You know what the thoughts are?
Does the sewer work?
That's
it.
But that means I'm just, on the screen or something.
I guess they could have been both done on Monday.
I might forget something, but someone's waiting for my first thing in the morning, and I was gonna think about it. Always better.
Yeah, I thought
Like
that
pros,
was.
We're really.
Absolutely.
You're asking about the end all. So, like, as the city comes back, you know, between now and April, you ask them to say whatever single one stuff.
Yeah, I think that's just gonna do one in the middle. Spend money on it. Sure. You've done it.
And this is true.
Wall Street, where I access some opportunities that require that you be, what they call ringbackers. Like doctor, lawyer, clearly.
Or if you wanna go through these
$25,000 a year, right? $65,000 a school.
Yeah,
Still not 40 grand.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like other schools that cost $65,000 a year.
So the-
We'll meet your full time.
On the first building.
Financial. It might be faster.
Now that the
You know,
building is
for 15 grand. So the private school can end up being less expensive than state school.
This is essentially accounting.
Or some varieties have a policy where they
Funds for that project.
There's some scholarships.
Did that change
You
then?
don't have to pay more than
No, that
10%
was always
of your family's.
Prime was always
just
used
use it.
as like a.
Oh, interesting. If you make less.
Yeah, I thought it was
So if you make
not.
200 grand a year, you get $20,000 a year, you go to Harvard.
Yeah.
That's cheaper than a fixed state school.
Yeah.
Yeah, Williams, we used to look at Williams, and it's like, they don't believe in having any of those children, they need those kids. So they, if you qualify, obviously, that's what, like 10 years ago. So, and there was never talk to the moms, farmers market. Yeah, I'm trying to, saying, hey, maybe we should, I guess we're doing it, so I was like, well, it's a question of, so we're making sure that the education of kids more is really strong. So they're gonna be working on scholarships, which is gonna be really great. And that's where they're, unless you're making a whole really good money, and, very few of these kids. Yeah, yeah. Oh, but if your academics are good enough,
And then
that means full, demonstrators, council,
And she's a good student, so.
the financial aid things are right. We should keep talking, because we learned a lot with our kids. We got burned, the one's pretty good. The first one was a learning curve. We got burned, we learned some tricks on it. Yeah, so some places will say, okay, we're 65 grand a
The
year,
grant money that you
and
need,
your family can afford 20.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give you $45,000.
Let's say 10 years from now, a couple years in the farmer's market.
Well, it's like 15,000 is coming, it's
Right,
5,000
and
in
we're driving down the road.
it's 20,000 in
Yeah, exactly.
low interest loans, it's another 15,000 at greater interest loans.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You met your full need, yeah, it still costs me $45,000 a year on the pocket, so.
Thank you.
I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I had all these crazy spreadsheets and stuff. Let's meet you.
Have you guys had that, just a huge, register site downtown somewhere where people can dump their trees and leaves and
So,
all that?
we've talked about some, you know, not, we don't have room downtown most places, but,
Well, around the edge somewhere.
that could work. Yeah, we should talk about
I
it.
mean, how would that work? Go talk to the landfill and see what kind of deal they can strike.
You'd need to, it would probably be, you know, that's a double-edged sword, so. It's a rich, it's also a rich tax and not another business. Squeeze everybody.
Yeah, but I feel like we could, I feel like the city of towns, I don't need everyone just together on this government. There's gotta be some efficiency there. I know the county drives their, cardboard to the landfill, yeah, that's not our. To be in secret.
That's organic, we should be burning that,
Yeah, I mean,
or digesting it, or pyrolyzing it. It's not bad, you know, like pyrolysis.
yeah, whatever.
That's something we even have in our old files.
Just shuts it down.
Basically roasting out the organics. It's not combustion. But these would inert material. And those organic stages.
The only place I can think of would be somewhere.
Been through combustion process, you can now take it, burn it.
Yeah, that's.
And turn it into something.
Yeah.
Okay, I was very sure they have other ways of getting.
Well, we'll talk about it.
How's it doing?
Right. Rusted, broken up stroller for barbecue. They set it on the street, but the city
I
guys
think
get it.
it depends, if you have city trash pickup, probably, if you have private trash pickup, you put it in your neighbor's yard.
Yeah, but you're, take care.
And James? that's what I was thinking too, but especially, you don't come to the executive session, but I'm gonna try to keep it going, because I hate to think that eventually we're just waiting. Paid by the minute.
That's about 5 seconds. It's about the, phone wire thing here. Rich's got a name. Is that fun? No. No? Sam's Club? No. I shot Costco. Costco. No, Colchester. Colchester? We got a Colchester? Yeah.
Yeah, did you hear his weakness?
Yes.
The door's open. You can't all come back. They're not all coming back. She's not here.
She's gone.
Okay.
Sylvia.
She gone.
She gone? Sylvia's gone.
Richie's gonna be our new neighbor.
Can we put these in our, in her office?
I can get this far, this or the copy of this.
Yeah, that's fine.
This far, but
How about the vault?
I'll do it for you.
you just want minutes.
I just
I
need these
know.
on one of the desks.
I think you see, Rich, you
I
have
know,
it.
you can have it.
Can you bring some, tasty snack treats when you come back?
Okay.
Rich, what are those proposals?
She's gotta do better than those,
I'll just email that.
Yeah, step up there.
It's the same, it's, that you're not gonna change it, so it's that stuff. They have wintergreen, there's orange, this is just like a can stuff.
Yeah.
You get what you get, the same minutes I want.
What about some granola bars with little protein content?
Then we can focus on maybe a little bit of something like
Salad.
some Ferrero Rocher, like, you know, really simple.
Fondue.
Little pyramid of golden wrapped chocolate balls.
Cos, you see I tried to call you back?
I just did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, me off.
I don't know, maybe the fire department.
Yeah, well, give me a call in the morning.
Environmental, and don't expect you to turn them up.
No, I had a couple questions.
I don't know.
The mayor, and we,
From
mayor's
Mayor's
office.
Department, my husband's budget.
For a resolution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the fun. Yeah.
That was mental compliments of Centennial Abstract.
Oh.
Because you're the same star.
There's no bumbles at Centennial Abstract, are there?
It's a bumble.
Remember, was it, Santa Claus is coming to town?
Mm-hmm.
Bumbles bounce. Some people don't bounce.
Oh.
Sorry.
I'm not getting it.
It's kind of roundabout when you make fun of your husband.
Yeah.
When he's at his worst.
Doesn't remember.
You know,
Just get the right amount.
so,
Oh, do you want me
me an email or you?
John Cornelius?
Well, she won't be in tomorrow. I'll just tell the girl, I'll email the girls to put them on her desk.
I put them on the files as closest to her desk. So she'll see when she comes in.
She won't be in.
What's that from?
That's okay.
I'll tell her.
That was our last week, so I'll get that stuff in my head.
Rich, I'm digging your math and resolution here.
That was my ad lib.
What's that?
I added that. Fill in the-
Insert adjective for,
Here, for your written.
insert term of endearment.
Once we put in.
Emotional.
That.
Your copy, right?
Yes.
Anything to
No, disregard.
Yep. That's our essential stuff. You were interested too, you were ready.
She'll speak for both, but she does most of the time.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean.
So I wanted to say hi.
Nice to meet you.
We could have shortened it. We didn't have that.
Hey, yeah, good.
We can shorten it.
Have a couple key jumpers today.
It's just for a while, it's gotta, it's not, it's just, every time it's in a slightly new group, it's just trying to figure out exactly where people are gonna move.
What makes you
Not
happy with that?
answer.
No, I don't know if we're gonna have to do.
You're
a
overthinking
resolution
this,
or not.
get it, shoot it. My life is very simple then.
Yeah, that was.
Get it?
Right, but that, I mean, we know we're doing that, but I'm saying now we're changing to this stuff.
Very different for Rocky Rob. I've been to 616 too. That's fine, I figured it was gonna finish it. I think we're going, it's coming short.
Well, it was tough this day.
Yep.
We looked at all of us.
Oh, yeah, I
You guys
can
are the
hear
same
what you
for
are.
us.
Oh,
You guys wanted to know, you guys kept looking and you two.
That, when CJ came, that,
Yeah, he added it.
when he came, you cut.
I could read that.
The speed and all that. Had a lot of trouble. If like, someone's covering Larry, I had trouble with Clyde, because Larry really couldn't get me to pass him, and Larry just, I can't get by Clyde, he's got long arms.
Yeah.
So we just,
Yeah, it's,
it was fun. So you been to the Mariner yet, Rich?
The who?
The Mariner.
Where's that?
Remember Dana's Rusty Tinker? Down in Snug Harbor, south of. Peru, and
Yes.
I ran into recently, it's a restaurant.
Yes. Jim. Wedding.
So, yeah.
But I haven't been back, no.
So they opened up down by.
We gotta go.
It's fat.
We gotta go, we gotta go.
I went to stay.
I told him, you gotta start being like a regular customer there. Or she wants to be a regular customer at the casino or whatever. It's all crazy. We get the presidential suite. I checked in last week, I said, oh, Trump's not coming, so we're taking his room. Good.
Call him Richie the Whale. So now they call the big spinners the whales?
That's what they said. Is that okay?
Oh, sure. I'm not sure if you just awarded it to whoever the date.
Yeah, but you don't wanna do it ahead of time, because then everybody knows.
No, I meant, we could shortly just award it to, like, dates of such and such, such and such.
Why
Go
don't
to
you?
horseback last year.
No, you can.
I can.
Oh, my son.
Yeah, there, we might as well.
You could get comp on room, you could get comp on, you know, meals. What? You know, it's a steak, we're paying $4 and $54. I mean, they're good, but they're not that good.
It's the feeling.
Yeah.
Slot machine.
No, fuck Jim. Half the bag.
You can count? Yeah, I can count. Sign autographs.
You say we're in the top 5. That's not good. That's not a good top 5 to have, right?
Excellent.
I tried to walk down Green Street the other day, and it was scary.
Yeah.
Are there sidewalks anywhere on Green Street?
Green Street, that alley?
Yeah.
No.
Not really.
And
Take the
farmer's
electrical
market
lines
access.
going down.
Farmer-
Farmers market access, so,
I know there's a long way
fix
from.
it. There's, once you get over the railroad tracks,
Mhm.
there's a walkway to the right,
Yeah.
the sidewalk. I believe the main entrance is gonna be coming through the Dock Street parking lot into the farmer's market.
So
that
if you
way.
wanted to park
So-
downtown or spend time downtown, you have to go all the way down to Harbor and then walk back,
Unless you wanted to navigate Main Street.
which is good.
Yeah, now, we are looking at ways to make Main Street better, 'cause we have
Yeah.
similar issues getting trucks in and out and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
make sure you're walking against traffic.
Yeah, so instead I got to the railroad tracks and I said, I'm stopping here because there's really nowhere to walk here.
If I like drop my car off to get tires on or something, I'll walk to and from sometimes, and that's like, man, I wanna run from there.
Okay, and they're not planning on spending any money for the farmer's market to upgrade that street,
Yeah, I
right?
don't know,
No.
so I
Not Green Street now.
might be talking out of school here, but.
No, the money for the farmer's market, that's strictly for the building and the runs.
Nothing for the road, right?
Not for the road, no. That's stuff we're looking at, medium, longer term, but
Yeah, but the funding that we're using isn't allowable for roads anyways.
Right.
That's building specific.
Let them take a tour of the wastewater plant.
it's the rough plan.
The rough part, okay.
I've been on four, it's a lot of fun.
It's
We have a good
okay.
time.
I'll bet you do.
We're never serious unless absolutely necessary. Well, when necessary, be absolutely serious. We have a good time.
Like when, you know what hits the fan, then you make your job.
We got a lot of those ones, right? In our business, we call that a shitload of shit.
You don't have any fans, do you?
What's that?
You don't have any fans.
Depends who you ask.
Oh, okay.
See, like, that could be trouble.
A guy used to come to city council meetings and accuse me of turning the fans at the compost plant towards his house downtown. Blowing all the odor down there. And he could prove it, because he brought in a bag of brown leaves beginning of November when he showed the council and the mayor what the odors from the compost plant were doing to the trees.
Brown leaves in September, October?
Beginning of November.
Well, yeah.
They got brown for it.
It's not like they turn brown in November, right?
That's good.
It's got quite a range. Look on Monty Street, right? Those are brown too. It's just what about that? Yeah.
Blame it on us, we got big show.
Oh, dear.
For like 3 years after the compost plant was closed, we'd still get odor.
Okay.
Well, the wind's coming from the northeast, and it's prime manure season. I think it's the compost plant that we
I live
close
on
for 3
Monty Street,
years.
2 mile walk, it's walk, but I don't walk around, I
Or Grand Isle, too,
people
just right up
who
there.
have the mobility scooters.
Northeast corner.
And this one old guy who's really cool, he had this really tricked out mobility scooter, and that's how he got around mobility.
So I know
And
all
I
about
can see it,
organics
really
and
going
vital
all the way
stuff.
down to the
Just
dock and
ask.
coming back, I mean, they're all going one this way. And it's scary.
Give me a microphone.
Yeah, there's not enough room for.
No,
It's probably for
yeah.
PFUO.
And I get concerned about that, because it's really,
Sure.
Especially if you're on a
Sure.
scooter, one of those things that you gotta do it all night.
And I don't think the city is providing scooter charging like you are,
No,
charging car
exactly.
charging, it's a whole other story.
That's actually per floor of. That stuff. But it's ubiquitous in the environment. Well, are you familiar with ubiquity? Not like like ubiquity.
Yep.
Ubiquitous. It's-
Knew you missed that S on the end of
It's
that.
ever present.
Oh, no, I didn't on my writing one, but I didn't know how to type it.
It's used in a lot of just in the back.
One of those, highest two rated banks. Very straightforward.
Yeah.
PFOA is perfluorinated substances.
Yeah.
So, but like a Teflon coating on top of it, a lot of outdoor heavy, bad heavy gear, supposedly Teflon. Even like wrinkle-free shirts.
Too much to
stuff,
do.
a little bit of Teflon. So,
What is it, if I had more time and I was smarter, I'd say it in fewer words?
pretty soon we're gonna be speaking in acronyms.
Become F.
STFU, young man. Oh, that's it. GMTV, we bought.
Blue bar.
Yep.
They were good ones too. It was in like an actual court with more space at home.
California just banned insurers from dropping policies for people in areas affected by wildfires.
Encourages stupid behavior. It's scary out there, man.
It's like flood insurance along the Mississippi.
Why are we filming the wells? 6 feet under sea level.
Yeah. The levees are all due to collapse.
Key West did a study to see how much it would cost them to raise all their roads and advance the rising sea levels, over $1 billion. So now they're just talking about letting entire communities just
Float away.
wither and die.
I remember being in New Orleans and sitting on one of the levees and you could feel vibration through it, like there was a freight train going by. And it's the river shaking the levee. If it shakes it enough, it'll just liquefy.
We were sweating my butt off down there fighting us.
Oh, yeah. Nasty.
Like 100 degrees, 500%.
Bourbon Street smells like the inside of a stale beer with so much love in it. They hose it back early, they hose it down every morning, but they still can't get it clean.
It's nowhere for it to go.
No. Everybody, they bury in the city, they bury in down in the tomb, so water comes
Put
out.
a couple of
Yeah, all the student nights were flooded, there were caskets flooded.
Floating around, yeah.
Tell you what, we got a lot of people out there that did not actually come back.
They knock you out?
Oh my gosh. You like go home and always got wine, you got the lion and all that stuff, yeah. Fish that you love. And what is it? It's great. There's something like that.
What's a jambalaya? It's just like a stew.
Okra, crawfish.
All sorts of things, seafood, stuff. Name it, they throw it in. Hot peppers.
She's on the gas. Did you adjourn back from the executive session?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we're returning from the executive session. We were discussing a matter of a contract with a particular corporation and a issue involving a particular person, and no decisions were made during the executive session. Let's begin tonight's common council meeting, please, with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Reed,
Present.
Counselor Armstrong,
Here?
Counselor Kelly,
Here?
Counselor Gibbs.
Here.
Counselor Renzel, Counselor McFarland.
Here.
Counselor Moore.
Here.
I'd just like to remind everybody that we're having our holiday parade Saturday evening, so please come. The weather looks like it's going to really cooperate, and got I think almost a record number of floats, 40 floats, so it should be a very good gathering.
That's great.
Please continue.
I will go late. Yeah.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the common council held November 26, 2019 are approved and placed on file in the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Counselor Gibbs, seconded by Counselor Moore. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls for the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending December 4th, 2019 in the amount of $509,246.25 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, seconded by Counselor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. You have in your packets the various reports. You did ask also for a report from the trap, neuter, vaccinate, release, and they are preparing that report, but they are on that. Let's go into further reports from the individual committees, beginning with governance strategy and city operations. Councilor Armstrong.
No update.
City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
I didn't have any updates this time.
Finance and budget, Councilor Kelly.
No updates.
Public safety, Councilor Gibbs.
No updates.
MLD board president, Councilor McFarland.
No updates at this time.
I don't think we've ever had that before. Resolved, the reports as listed are hereby ordered, received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Gibbs and seconded by Councilor Moore. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. No correspondences or recommendations from boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills ordered by the common council for the week ending December 6, 2019 in the amount of $264,560 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Moore and seconded by Councilor Kelly. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. At this point of the meeting, we ask for any members of the public who'd like to please come comment on an item on the agenda tonight. Please come forward. There are agendas just outside the door. And we will have another public comment period at the end of the meeting for any issue of mutual concern. But this is agenda items only at this time.
Hello.
I had a comment on Resolution B tonight with the Green Street Farmers Market improvements. A few weeks ago, I was here, and you went on about how nice the area was. So I decided to try to take a walk down Green Street and got as far as the railroad tracks and got scared out of my wits and had to turn around and come back downtown, so I never really got to see the site. So what I'm hoping is that when you guys go ahead and do this, and I'll trust your judgment that it's a nice place, but that you do something about fixing Green Street so that pedestrians can get to the farmer's market in a short manner. Because I'm sure that a lot of people, going to the market, a lot of people are on mobility chairs and some really constrained in their ability to move, and that's the shortest way, and Green Street is definitely not a very safe street, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Any other members of the public like to please come forward?
Good evening, my name is Kai Ford. I'm here to make a comment about, I believe it's the new rental property, P7, I believe it is, or 6.
That's not on tonight's agenda.
Oh, it isn't on
sir.
tonight's agenda.
No. You may speak about it at the general discussion at the end of the meeting if you'd
I
like.
have to stay till the end.
And there's also a hearing for, in a week's time on that, the next
Oh,
meeting.
I thought it was tonight's meeting.
And hearing will be at 5 o'clock on, 1 week from now,
Okay,
public hearing.
All right, I'll wait till the end then.
And there will be a general public comment period, probably relatively soon, because there's not that much on the agenda tonight, if you wanted to wait around.
Sounds great.
Okay, sorry about that.
Any other members like to please come address the council? And speaking about
introduction
Green
of it.
Street, if I understand, Mr. Mill, you may know, the demolition has actually already begun on the MLD properties.
Began earlier this week, should proceed steadily over the next several months. The abatement and the demo and be cleared out well in advance of the farmer's market opening for business next spring.
Terrific.
Will there be other points of entry, I assume, besides Green Street to access the farmer's market? Wasn't there
We're
a
taking a
plan?
look at that as part of the improvements,
Right,
yes.
a plan to connect with the parking lot?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the improvements that we're contemplating.
Okay.
I have a point of interest. I'm looking at the agenda and I see the introduction of the local law P7 being as item number 7B. I can see why Mr. Ford.
No, no, that's a different one.
Who's commenting on P6?
Oh, all right,
I
sorry.
got confused too.
Thank you. If there's no other public comments at this time, please continue.
So there's been some slight grammatical changes to resolution 7A and also the entry of Glens Falls National Bank in that bank space.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city chamberlain to enter into a 5-year term of service subject to annual review with Glens Falls National Bank, who demonstrated by response to the city's 2019 banking services request for proposal that it will provide the city with the highest level of service at the best financial advantage gained through interest earnings net of service fee requirements. The rankings of the 4 banks responding to the city's RFP are provided as supporting documentation for this resolution, and one of the highest 2 rated banks has been recommended and is requested to provide services to the city from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, seconded by Councilor Kelly. Discussion, and please note, I have a prior relationship with the bank that you've chosen as part of my annual disclosure. I make that public, and I won't be participating in any way in this discussion.
All right. I would just like, we've had the benefit of looking at the report that was generated after much deliberation and sifting through mountains of, this is an example, of binders submitted by all the respondents to the RFP. And I think the process is really important for the public to know about, and so I would like to ask Chamberlain Marks to just come up to the podium and for the benefit of the public to describe the process of determining who we would award the contract to.
Well, we send out an RFP once every 5 years to do this.
I want to see how many pages the RFP is. I don't actually know that. Just to show you how in-depth it is. So I didn't print a copy of that to bring with me. Yeah. Yeah, that's not one. Anyway, it's a multi-page RFP that asks a lot of technical questions about the bank's abilities to provide service and interest earnings and describe their fees. So throughout the process, do a comparison, which I've given you the report on this. I'm going to provide a copy of this to the city clerk so she can have it on file for the respondents to take a look at in case they question, the analysis that we've done.
All kinds of categories, borrowing,
Yeah.
other services, payroll, direct deposit, yeah.
Long and the short of it is all the banks provide the services. They're all technically proficient. They all have the same level of service. 2 of them provide higher interest earnings net of the fees. So that becomes a compelling reason to give them a tie as far as the 2 highest rated banks. And since one of the banks that we already use
And
is-
have since 2009.
since 2009, is the incumbent bank that we're using. There's no compelling reason to make a change, so that's why I recommended Glens Falls National. It's a shame that all of them can't participate, because they all do a good job, and unfortunately, one of them being a big bank, charges a lot of fees and low interest, but the two banks that tied, like I said, Glens Falls National and NBT Bank. They get the nod as far as being the best proposals, highest interest earnings versus the services they provide. And we're already with Glens Falls, so I'm recommending no change, keeping them the same.
Right,
No
because you
compelling
don't
reason
want
to
an
move.
unnecessary transition.
Yeah, there would be
you said.
cost to a transition,
Right.
and of course, if one of the banks provided, say, $50,000-$60,000 more in interest earnings, it'd be worth it to move,
Right.
because that would cover our transition costs.
Exactly.
But, you know, they're all good banks, they're all local banks. The one that's the most convenient would be TD Bank up and around the corner, because they're even open until 5 o'clock for us to make our cash deposits at the end of the day. However, they're not the highest rated because they have very low interest earnings.
Right.
They're a fee-based bank.
Mhm.
Like all Canadian banks, they're very big. You know, the Canadian banks are 6 banks out of the top 10 banks in the world as far as size, and that's just the way they do things.
Right.
High fee earning, low interest earning.
Well, this is a real labor-intensive process, and I really appreciate all the
Yeah.
time you and your office took to sift through all of this information and then come up with this really useful summary that actually wasn't as useful as the summary you provided orally, but thank you. I really appreciate it.
And the RFPs that were submitted, there was 3 copies. They're all gonna be on file with the city clerk's office in case anybody wants to see them, as well as the results. So
Right.
that's the recommendation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Any further discussion?
I would like to make a quick statement so that there's a clarification. We did go to executive session, but there was no discussion about this item when Mayor Reed was with us, and I just thought that would be a very important statement to make here.
Yes. Good point.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes,
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves the city of Chamberlain to create capital project H5110.73 Green Street Farmers Market improvements for a $250,000 appropriation to be funded ultimately from the downtown grant program segment of the DRI total funding grants as authorized by the common council at the meeting held on November 21st, 2019.
Moved by Counselor Gibbs, second by Counselor Kelly. Discussion.
I think the council approved the building of the farmer's market building at $250,000 one meeting ago?
I believe it was 2 meetings.
2 meetings ago, and this just sets up the capital budget fund
Yeah,
for
it's simply an
that
account.
project. Okay, thank you.
I believe this refers to up to $250,000. They're still looking at the various scope of work, and we have discussed with you all and pledged a letter of intent to be working with the farmers market very closely on our co-interest in this.
So we had a concern expressed by a citizen tonight about Green Street safety there. Is that part of this plan to address Green Street's appearance and
There is a,
safety? Yeah.
I can tell you there is a push to do Green Street. It was actually one of the 14 proposals in the parking study too, is to improve walkability down Green Street. The problem we face there is it's gonna be used a lot by NYSEG in their remediation efforts, I believe, coming up. Maybe Director Miller can.
Yeah, the operational unit 2 and 3 staging areas for NYSEG remediation of the riverbed in the Saranac are planned to have their staging areas right down Green Street to the left on the other side of the current MLD site. So any major improvements that we were to plan between now and completion of that work would be subject to a considerable amount of heavy truck traffic, which could degrade any improvements that we make in the interim.
This actually, if you recall, came up when we were contemplating when to
Phase
proceed
3.
with Saranac River Trail Phase 3.
Yeah.
And we decided at that point we're very committed to the Phase 3, but we really wanted to have some of this heavy work done to completion so we make sure we're not putting in good money after that.
Yeah, so I think some improvements could probably be made, but I think it's kind of, you wanna delay a little bit to make sure that we're not throwing
Yeah.
good money with
Well,
bad, but
and all the more reason to,
Improvements to Green Street, that will certainly be, assuming we
But I hope that regardless, that there will be considerable energy and time put into finding an alternate route, because I had forgotten about the NICEAG cleanup and its proximity to the site. So it would be really important to have another access point.
Yeah, absolutely.
There
Yeah,
will
we
be
have
another,
been,
certainly another access point from the city marina location.
but that's a little far.
It is
And
far.
there is another access point, at least from my ward there,
For
the fifth ward. We have the
pedestrians.
walkable bridge
Right.
from over by Stafford Owens. We also have been looking, as part of the parking study, we were looking into building a footbridge over the railroad tracks, although that's a whole can of worms with federal regulations with railroads, so that's gonna take some time too.
A couple of them exist though,
Yeah,
down
they-
where I
they're
live.
not impossible.
Yeah, right.
Well, couldn't we route some of the truck traffic through the harbor side or the marina side? You know, because Green Street, that is a pretty congested area. I would hope that if they had a lot of truck traffic, it would go in a different way than Green
Well,
Street.
We could send them in a different direction, but they would still have to wind their way
They
through
would.
those parking lots and around the backside of Green Street in order to get to the staging areas along the river.
Yeah, but what Dr. King brought up was a good point. Like, she wants it to be like everyone wants it to be a more walkable street. I don't think there are already sidewalks on it.
Well, there are
right
no
now.
sidewalks.
Especially for
There's
access.
a railroad crossing.
And especially with the farmer's market's plan on being going, like when we were first talking about moving the farmer's market down there, people had different ideas of where it might go down there. And certainly the spot that's been picked, obviously, because there's an existing structure, is closest to Green Street, like, a lot closer to Green Street than the Dock Street area. So having a well-lit area, having better walkable, Dr. Green, or I don't know why I said Dr.
Green.
Green, because
Dr.
we're talking about
Green.
Green Street. Dr. King pointed out that they, she tried to do it at night and it was a little sketchy. It's right between the PMS building and another building, so then maybe some improvements can go as if there's not a lot of heavy truck traffic and heavy trucks are diverted around. Clearly, it's still gonna cause traffic down at the area, but it might be something to look into.
So how about if we talk to DPW and see what they can do on an interim basis? Get some input from them.
Good discussion.
Good.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves of the city chamberlain to revise capital project H5110.67, 2019 street resurfacing for an additional $116,000 appropriation for the Cogan Avenue 2020 reconstruction design to be funded ultimately from serial bonds and is authorized by the common council at the meeting held on November 14th, 2019.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Moore. Discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
I'd like to introduce a copy of local law P7 2019, a local law amending and restating in its entirety, chapter 278, article 7, section 48, subsection C of the city code of the city of Plattsburgh, and we'll set a public hearing for Thursday, December 19th at 5 p.m. There's no travel requests at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? One item, new business, we will be announcing on Monday, December 9th, 2019, at 5 p.m., just before the hearing, the public hearing that was already
December 9th.
scheduled.
Did
Hmm?
you say 9th?
9th, yeah. We'll be announcing at that time a public hearing to introduce local law number P8 of 2019, amending and restating its entirety, chapter 348, section 24. It's really companion, a local law for the one that we just handed out. So be expecting that. Any additional new business or council reports?
Yeah, I have one. I think it's, I may not be able to be done to the spring, but I think it's important to address Court Street and restriping parking spots and stuff like that. I actually came here from court today, and I was driving out of court. Someone was parked in front of the exit because there are still lines for a parking space there, and you wouldn't expect people to park in the lines if they're blocking, but they do. You know, and I've also brought up a crosswalk there from Marion. So I think the sooner that we can get to restriping Court Street to adequately coincide with the changes that the county has made in their parking lot would be beneficial.
We've spoken to the county and DPW and ADA about this issue. Within the next 2 weeks, I would imagine DPW is going to plane off the existing parking lot stripes on that side of Court Street between the easternmost and westernmost entrances to the county lot. ADA is taking a look to see parking spots that can be inserted between the newly constructed driveways. That work the actual restriping may wait until spring just because of the poor weather. But we're working with the county on that to find a solution that will work for both parties and minimize disruption to traffic and parking.
All right, thank you.
Any additional new business or council reports?
May I have that one thing about the parking lights?
Oh.
We have the parade downtown this Saturday. So in order to clear the route of all vehicles parked along the side of the roads, the most effective way that we've determined to do this would be to have DPW turn on the snow ban parking emergency lights strictly in the downtown area starting on Friday afternoon once everybody gets out of work, turning them off on Saturday morning. In the meantime, once the cars are cleared off the road, to put cones out along the parade route in order to minimize disruption and people not being able to get to their cars while the parade is ongoing. So it's just a notification to the council, so if you get any questions from constituents on that, that's what's happening.
Sounds reasonable.
Any additional reports? Seeing none, we now have another opportunity for closing public comments on any issues of mutual concern. And please be mindful of a 5-minute time limit.
I will. I'm here to add a couple, I guess, begin discussion of the new rental permitting laws that are being put forth by the council. I did read through the proposed language and I had a couple concerns. My first concern is that, probably my biggest concern is that there is no language or path laid out in the proposed law that would act as a path of grievance for a landlord who has a permit revoked for their ability to rent out a property. Whether or not a permit should be revoked, I think can be up for interpretation. Obviously, that'll be coordinated with Joe's office and down the road, but I think it bears saying that that is a major decision if you revoke someone's ability to produce income at a property. That income is used to do repairs, maintenance, pay mortgage expenses, and then also pay taxes to the city. When you raise a person's tax assessment in the city, they're given a venue to come. If they don't feel that that is appropriate, they can come before a board and grieve that. And then the board issues a ruling one way or the other. But I think in a situation where potentially down the road, a very impactful decision could be made, I think when you're considering the language of this law, I think there should be some type of avenue for grievance. One other point I did have with reading through the law was that, I don't know if this will come later, but there is no clearly defined fees that are stipulated in the law at this time in terms of what exactly is going to be a permit price to own a rental property in the city of Plattsburgh. And I think in the efforts of transparency moving forward, I think it would be great on the council's behalf to do as much homework ahead of time and let the public know what those fees are going to be. That way people can make a determination and speak, and I think it might be a good thing. Those are my comments, a little early, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd. Thank you. Any other individuals like to please come address the council? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor McFarland. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yeah.
Thank you, folks, for coming. Is the microphone off already?
I like that.